I show here in these pictures or drawings, there are many details, but I will not get to the fine technical information. I will speak in principle. We are building in the wrong way, and I'm calling the king is naked. For 200 years we build buildings that just don't stand a chance against fire that comes from the outside. Especially a fire zone like Lake County that is high risk fire zone. More risky than that of San Francisco. That of San Francisco, you're not allowed to build anything that is combustible. In Lake County you can build with sticks that have glue in them, that is highly combustible, petroleum byproduct. And here I'm presenting what we do for 200 years. You go to Berkeley, Lake County, you find buildings 100 years or older that are made in this way. They're made in a system that just sucks the fire in. We love to have a crossfire in the house. Why? It's a conversation. Low pressure zone, high pressure zone. When you have a fire outside the crawl space, code requires to have vents, the fire is sucked in, the house is being cooked. We have an attic, the same problem. Low pressure zone, high pressure zone. We are required to have vents. Even the code encourages us to have the vents on the lower part, because then we're allowed to put less vents, but then it sucks the fire in. We have windows that even the tempered glass window that claims to be 20 minutes window, I don't believe that. It also, the window breaks the heat, gets in. We put gutters, we don't clean them, they collect leaves and junk. When the amber falls into the gutter, or amber rolls down the roof into the gutter, ignites the framing. Or amber lands on the roof, there's composite shingles, they start melting, burning, so maybe the composite shingles will not burn so well, but they will start melting, and then eventually the heat reaches the roof framing and ignites the house. So this is a system that it doesn't work, it's just a 1, 2, 3, 4 failure spots, and maybe somebody else will find another failure spot here that the fire loves. Now, the wall itself, the way we build the walls today, wood siding, even I didn't mention wood siding, how easily it can burn. We have beautiful redwood or cedar or nice combustible siding, you have wood studs and drywood inside, the only non-combustible material, and also maybe fiberglass insulation that is not combustible. But the wood siding will burn, the stud will burn, you have the fire inside. So what I suggest to do, change it. Slab and grade. So you don't have the problem of crawl space, you don't have fires being sucked in. No attic, cathedral ceiling, it's just much nicer. And also cathedral ceiling, minimum venting or not at all venting, so you don't have fire sucked in. And this is still a conventional way that we do buildings. My house is a cathedral ceiling, it's beautiful, the second floor. I have beautiful ceiling there because the previous owner, 35 years ago, decided to do it versus building an attic there. This is very commonly done, slab and grade in commercial construction, also residential houses in the peninsula. How do they call it? Ashler? Eichler houses, all of them have slab and grade, and they're very low. And of course, insulation questions, heating questions, but can be solved with technology. And then I say, okay, you want gutters, but I will say don't put the common eave. I will say any detail that will separate. This be an eave, but the common eave, there be no combustible rafters sticking out can get burned. It's basically non-combustible separator. So the structural framing actually will start from here. So here I will have non-combustible separated. So the gutter is far away enough from the structure. So if something burns in the gutter, there'll be enough buffer for the heat not to be transferred to the framing. The roofing material, non-combustible. And I can list a few of them. Roofing material. Roofing material is in this picture. Here. Not combustible roofing, metal, concrete or ceramic shingles, or corrugated metal panels. So there are many materials available on the market, some of them more expensive than, slightly more expensive than composite, but they're much nicer, better looking. And even if we say get to concrete or ceramic tiles, they give you the nice look, also they give you some thermal mass. Shear walls that are made of plywood or particle board, highly combustible because of the glue. So I say use sheet metal for shear walls. I use sheet metal for the shear wall when I did a house in Oakland many years ago, and it was made of steel framing. So it's light gauge steel framing. Actually, steel framing is green because many of them actually are done with recycled car metal. So it's actually, if it's correct, then I remember the claim that we spoke about when I was selling this at the start, the claim they are made with recycled cars. I will get to the point of to the problem with metal studs that are not combustible. Termites don't love to eat them or cannot eat them, but there's the issue the firefighters will tell you is the problem. But I avoided a particle board that contains 30% of its volume of its glue. Plywood less, but still glue that is combustible. Do you have an idea what is the percentage in volume of glue in the particle board?
No, I don't know.
If I say 30%, am I close? Maybe.
It sounds like a good guess to me. I haven't ever looked that one up.
Yeah, but so when I started thinking about it a year ago, I was thinking about metal studs, but then from Trina I got the point saying metal studs they don't burn, but they lose their strength in heat and they collapse. So when I speak to firefighters, people in firefighting, you say they prefer wood. I was thinking about to put here a metal deck, but Brian told me they prefer to have plywood here so the fire will poke a hole in the roof and vent the smoke. And he told me also the same problem, the metal deck. Corrugated metal deck used in commercial construction. Basically, corrugated metal that becomes structural support, and instead of the problem in heat, it will lose strength and collapse. So you see, I'm still using commercial materials. I'm using plywood on the roof, I'm using wood rafters, I'm using wood studs, but what the envelope around them, this is important. For example, these two wall systems are out of just the UL book. They exist, these systems are used for years, so I didn't invent them. I use them because since my beginning of the history in 1981, working here, 2-hour wall or 1 hour wall of these assemblies, they are from the UL book. For anybody knowledge, what is UL? When you look at the bottom of your toaster, there's letters UL. The toaster manufacturer paid money, thousands of dollars, for the underwriter laboratories to test the product that are safe for the requirements, safety, etc., etc. So manufacturer of gypsum board would pay thousands of dollars for UL underwriter laboratories, UL, to test their product in the assembly that commonly built. And then in the book I found this assembly was tested, and this is the way it's built. So here this is just borrowed right away of commercial construction. If I go to high-rise buildings, school or hospital, they will not allow me to put wood stud here. I will have to put metal stud, but always the same. But also there are tested assemblies of wood stud that work the same way. That means the idea here that we suppose the fire will take it 2 hours to cross through the wall, and also the wall will not break from the pressure of the fire hose. This is about technical details. Now, the idea to develop an envelope that can survive 1 hour or 2 hours depends on the terrain condition, and I get to it very soon. That the house may be scorched outside, but the inside will be okay. this plan, I'm suggesting something that is done in commercial construction. Shutters that we heat activated or manually activated. There are shutters again, 1 hour barrier or 2 hour barrier for fire, used constantly in commercial construction. They're expensive, they're complicated, need more careful maintenance. So I'm suggesting something very simpler that I remember calling it from high-rise building, pocket doors. Doors that basically kind of sit in the recess of the wall. They're usually there with attached with magnetic holder. When the fire alarm goes off, they are released and closed, like in front of the elevator door. Elevator door doesn't have any fire protection. So I say, I can protect this way a front entrance. I can protect every window with them. Basically like a shutter that is outside, and you can activate it on the hinges any other way, manually, or it is on the spring. The moment it's released, the spring will close it. And the idea that in the bedroom the code requires to be emergency escape, the window should be also for emergency escape. So if this closing over the window, you can push it and open it. So maybe this works better than the shutter, but I gave it to two options. So basically, in case of fire, you close the hole, you have one envelope. Roof, shutters, or pocket doors, walls, so you have an envelope. Now, but this is not a fireproof house. The point is that depends on the terrain, depends on the maintenance condition. Some places you are near the main, you are living in a dense forest. The heat that we transfer to any wall will ignite everything inside, so nothing will stay. So still, it's really, each condition must be evaluated for, I would say, each place must be evaluated according to terrain that's illegal. And also, this is not compensation for having the lousy homeowner that keeps a lot of junk around. Okay? So it must work together. First, clean the yard clean. If you have sprinklers on the roof, great. But this conversation is only about the envelope of the house, or the skin of the house, how you do it right. The rest, I rather open for question. I think this is the principle I'm describing what it is, and you can read the first page here, what I'm talking about. And if you have any questions, I would then maybe some of the questions be addressing the diagrams there. But only what I mentioned, this is not a solution for a house, this is still a concept. So this is a concept, this is not a house I built it this way, this is wrong. This is a concept that can be used and evaluated and applied and adjusted for each specific condition of the property. If you are in the desert, you don't need this at all. Okay, no chance the fire arrive to you. If I have very dense forest, even this will not save you. So the next action will be to take a project and make it working with this condition specifically for this project. Questions?
Go ahead. I was going to say I have a few comments or addenda to what you mentioned, if I may.
Yes.
One of the things is, I thought it was interesting. I was looking into windows. It's like, well, there must be something to make windows safe. Why are they only 20 minutes? Well, it turns out actually that the windows, they have window glass that'll withstand up to like 1400 degrees for 40 or 50 minutes. But it can't withstand the shock of the sprinklers coming on inside. Cold water hits the warmed up glass and it shatters. So the only way to get around that, well, one way of getting around that is to have what they call a drenching sprinklers, so that one kind of sprinkler, the one that's right over the ignition source, comes on. With a drenching system, all the sprinklers come on right away, so that if the water's running against the glass on the inside, when the fire's on the outside, you're okay. It's when because the glass won't heat up enough. But if it's heated up by the fire and then the sprinkler comes on, it'll break. And the other thing is, of course, that fire, if you've got a roaring fire that's 30 feet away where your defensible space starts, or your neighbor's house is roaring away, that the heat can actually be transmitted through the glass without breaking it and ignite your curtains, your little lace curtains or whatever you have. And another thing that is a big problem, much bigger problem now, it's legacy materials, is that we talked before the thing about how they did tests, and legacy construction materials like 2x12s, you know, real wood, joists will last like 18 minutes in a fire, whereas an I-joist or a, you know, like one of these engineered lumber things will burn through anywhere from 3 minutes up to 12 minutes or something like that, depending on various things.
Because of the glue.
Because of the glue. And so, but also furniture. Everybody's got these foam furniture and these
particle board furniture.
Well, particle board furniture, but also all this like synthetic stain-proof cloth that burns, and it makes a stinky fire because it's plastic. So it's dangerous to be, you know, it's a life safety, not just because of the fire, but because of all this terrible smoke that those things generate. But yeah, so that was about that started with the windows there.
You see, in commercial construction, I specified many times 1 hour rated windows, and they were within the 36-inch fire protection zone.
Yeah.
You know, now the code requires that within 36 inches from the property line, everything must be minimum 1 hour rated. 1 hour means for the fire to go to the wall, including the windows.
Windows are not allowed at 3 feet from the property line.
Maybe
You have to be more than 5 feet from the property line to have a window.
Must be protected. They're not allowed.
At 5 feet, at 3 feet they're
That's
not
right.
allowed. At 5 feet they have to be protected.
Actually,
Something like that. Anyway,
yeah. So, but the point is that they are not allowed within 3 feet. Within past the 3 feet they allow, but they must be protected. Now, they usually have metal frame. They can be made of wire glass or ceramic glass, but they're very expensive. Okay. Now the question with the ceramic glass or wire glass windows, when they hit it on one side, the sprinkler sprayed on the other side. Even
wire glasses, apparently they're moving away from wire glass because wire glass holds up better in fire than regular glass, but it does not, it's only a third as strong as other glass.
Yeah.
So it isn't, you know, so they go, well, so it's kind of fire resistant because the wires in it keep it from just going clunk on the floor. Yeah. And so there's still some sort of barrier so the fire can't get through. But you know, if it's in a door or something, it can break easily, and so they don't like that.
So the question, why now they're required to have tempered glass on the windows and they claim this window should be 20%, 20-minute protection if it's really true? What is the advantage of it?
Well, the tempered glass actually is more heat resistant than not a lot, but it's than plain annealed glass. Okay. It's stronger. So one of the things is that you see products apparently that go, oh, you know, except for the water shock, the hose shock test, this glass is rated at 50 minutes. It's like, yeah, well, except for the hose shock test, whatever it's called, because if it won't pass the hose shock test, because then squirt it with a hose, and if it doesn't break, it passes. Yeah. If it won't pass that, then it doesn't pass. So saying that you got a 50-minute rating, if you don't count the hose shock test, is meaningless. Because
you see the Type X gypsum board, what you can buy at Home Depot, you know, $8 or $9 a sheet of 4x8, is actually, if you do the assemblies that were drawn here, they are tested to pass the hose pressure. What you're saying, the glass, no. Even the tempered glass, they require maybe also so in case of fire, for the occupants that try to escape, or firefighters, will not be encountering large pieces of glasses falling on them, because the tempered, when it breaks, it turns into gravel.
Well, a lot of times you see things where with a double glazed window, only one pane breaks. The pane that got water squirted on it, right?
Oh.
The other one,
You see,
is okay. But I had this idea when you were talking about those shutters. It was something I was thinking about earlier, but I was reminded that maybe it would be cool to invent a shutter that is mounted under the eaves like a sunshade,
yeah.
and maybe it's folded over so that it doesn't stick out. You know, so maybe it could be a flip-flop fold up against, and it has a fusible link up there. So when the heat gets up to 160, it lets go and it goes flop-flop and hangs in front of the window.
Yeah, at this point, I'm trying to focus on materials that are already available and commonly used. Yeah, but this is a good idea.
But the thing is, you can buy the fusible links, and you could make yourself those out of just some pieces of Tech Shield, which is OSB with foil on one side of it, and it goes flip and the foil, and the foil side is out. Then you've got your fire.
This can be the next idea. You see, that's true. The shutter requires first a box where it rolls up into, requires maintenance, make sure it works, requires testing. It can be also electrically activated. So when you leave home and you want to, or it's very hot outside, you just close them and you have dark and you can relax on a very hot day.
However, all of these things, including the sprinklers, and all of these, anything that's electronically controlled is at the mercy of the power staying on.
Right. No,
again, it depends on where you are.
You see, this what I like. I like this pocket door that is basically a spring hinge. When it releases, it will close by its own force. Does not need any help. You see, the shutter is a problem. Imagine you have shutters all over the house, and then they are closing, and the only place that there is no fire where is a shutter, and you can't escape. Because the pocket door, you just can open it with your hand. You just press it, push it, and open it, and it will close back.
You know, one of the things that I came across as a thing that you could do for fire safing your house is to make inserts for your windows out of lightweight plywood and glue tinfoil to them, and have them marked clearly, and have Velcro tabs up or other kind of hangers. And if you're evacuating because there's a fire, if you've got time, you run around, you pull them out of the garage, and you put them up on all your windows on the inside, shining out, so that the heat that comes through is bounced back out.
Here the solution works very well with this pocket door, because the non-visible part when it's open can be all coated silver with something. You can put a mirror maybe there, something, you know.
Well, you don't want a mirror because that would...
Stainless steel, polished stainless steel that they...
They'd all break when the firemen came with their hoses.
You know, whatever. I said polished stainless steel even, but you pay more money for that, like you do in commercial kitchens.
Sure.
So that when they close, it's reflective.
But all of this fire rating, whether it's 2 hours or 20 minutes or whatever, is only good if the fire department shows up. If the fire department doesn't make it to your house, it doesn't matter.
You know, the idea is, if your debris is burning in the yard, how long would it take them to burn out before the fire is able to control?
No, but I mean, in a wildfire like we had now, they could only come, they couldn't come to everybody's house.
Yeah, they didn't get anywhere near my house, and they didn't touch they didn't get within a mile of my 2,500 gallon tank. But see, the thing is that a wildfire goes on by.
Yeah, this is the idea.
Whereas it depends, of course, if you're living, like if your house is like perched on the edge of a canyon full of chaparral, like that Tri-D house was it's perched on a hillside, and the flames were roaring up that mountain right outside the windows, and it survived. A few windows broke. But you know, like if you like where you are, you know, the fire burns some trees and goes on, and you know, one tree burning isn't enough to really set a house afire if it's well protected.
So,
So this is the idea here. that you have enough time, the house has enough survival time, longer than the time that would take all the stuff around the roaring fire to go. For example, if I give you 2 hours in this system, the system is supposed to protect you for 2 hours. After 2 hours it may be broken through, but the fire runs through the place in 45 minutes, 20 minutes. Somebody say, okay, you have just big wheat field around you, so maybe I'll give you a little bit, save money and do 1 hour system. Just less materials in the sandwich, and the wheat field will burn in 10 minutes and the fire went through.
I've seen pictures of people living in, there was some guy who sat out a wildfire in his monolithic dome, and it was chaparral, and it just burned right by. You know, it burned around the house, and then the fuel was gone and it went. But if you live in town or in a suburb next to a bunch of other houses, and you've got this wonderful stucco house with the waterproof, with the fireproof eaves and the gutters all screened, but your neighbors have wood shingles or something, their house burns. That house is gonna burn for a while, and your windows are gonna break, or the fire will. I mean, that's one of the things about the wildfire. This fire storm is what really sucks the storm. It sucks embers right through the house where it can, in the crawl space and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the thing about the windows breaking is that it creates a vacuum and so the stuff comes in, or what?
Yeah, so you breaks, and then the window breaks, and then the curtains catch fire, and maybe the fire is roaring and sucking, and it pulls the attic hatch up because it's pulling air out of the attic, and so the attic hatch pops open, and the flame comes roaring in the window to go up the attic hatch,
You
or
see,
wherever.
this one describing, you see the way. Basically, the attic turns into a chimney. The chimney, the fireplace works because up at the top of the chimney, the pressure is lower than below.
Heat rises.
So the
Flame
heat
likes to go
rises and also the pressure. So when eventually the heats are going up, it's already, the pressure is lower. So always you want to go to the cooler place. Now, this is basically, this is a chimney, what we build all the time. The point is also, you see, if I talk about these pocket doors, they're basically a sandwich of 2 inch thick that is just metal outside and basically gypsum board inside. So the materials are very cheap. Gypsum board is one of the best materials actually to prevent heat in high temperature from going through and also non-combustible. This is why all these walls are made of drywall. It's one of the best materials to start a fire.
And then there's the new stuff, the magnesium board that Shanti sells is like, that's kind of even better, because one of the things about drywall is the fact that it's just sort of this inert stuff, but also its chemical composition includes water vapor, so when it heats up, it lets out moisture, and this magnesium board is better than gypsum board for that. So it tends to mist the fire a little bit, so that it makes it a little less easy to burn.
So let me ask you another question now. If your sprinkler system goes off, then isn't your house ruined anyway?
Depends on what the inside of your house is.
The contents are.
Yeah, well, unless
you...
you...
the house itself, you may need to replace interior finishes, but the framing, the foundation, the house is standing. It's worse than the whole thing, everything is gone. You know, it's kind of absurd. A child will... A sprinkler system can be activated even for no needed reason, and if terrible damage. Okay, like you're saying, there is a fire outside the house, and activate the sprinklers. The whole house is sprayed. The fire never entered the house.
The main problem...
And now you have ruin.
You have ruined, yeah, because now this is kind of absurd, you know, code and governmental officials, it's kind of work logic. They now require everybody to put interior sprinklers. When here, the hazard in this area, the fire coming from the outside.
That's most of the time, except there was a house that, you know, a couple of months after the Valley Fire came roaring down Bottle Rock Road, somebody's house that survived that fire burned down from an electrical fire inside. You know, it's like, so it's true that the whole concept of sprinklers is about saving the occupants of the house if the house starts burning from the inside while they're asleep, or something like
So
that.
they can run this gear
It
on.
isn't, you know, and it's to keep the fire, it's to, you know, the house that started on fire is gonna get wrecked with the water, if not the fire. But the houses that are 10 feet away might have a much better chance of surviving if all the sprinklers go whoosh. Now, I don't know about sprinklers on the roof, because I've heard they don't work very well, that it's hard to get enough water up there to make a difference. And firefighters, I've read things where firefighters are wishing that people didn't do them, because if everybody turns on their roof sprinklers before they leave, and they're on community water, there's no water pressure.
Well, so I thought about actually for my place, if I put a 2,000-gallon tank, even surface tank, and a generator. Okay, the generator may be 2-hour fuel tank. So I need to run away because of fire. I turn the system on and run away, so I don't use the community water.
Yeah.
I use my own water that I save, and I soak the whole yard, the whole building of water. So
That would, you know, that's better than people that what the firefighter guys in the fire safe literature I was looking at were poo-pooing, was the people who climb up on their roof and put a few garden hoses and sprinklers up there and leave them running while they.
So there was
So I mean, what it really boils down to with all of this is site and situation specific solutions. And the government, and in its regulatory passion, tries to come up with something that will fix everybody's problem, and all they end up doing is, not all they end up doing, but the side effect of what they're up to is that it makes everything more expensive and more difficult, because they put all these rules in place that might or might not be appropriate in a specific situation.
You say aspirin will not work on everybody, and some people also can be killed by aspirin. This is what the government tries to give us aspirin.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, this is an idea that every condition must be evaluated. What of this idea can be used? But the point is saying, I need to change the mind. So the government, you see, I would like to speak about the government officials, but maybe they're not allowed to endorse any system. Okay? I mean, actually, I got to contact insurance companies. If they will encourage their customers after a disaster to build something more fire resistant, so maybe they get a break on their policy, or maybe even this way enable them to buy new policy. Yeah.
One of the things that I, as I mentioned just before this, we started here, is that I'm sort of dialing back around to looking at cement houses, at concrete houses, whether it's monolithic domes or Tri-D or Rastra or ICFs, because one thing about them is that I love the idea of a mud house or a straw bale house and all this nice clay on it and